Hey, it's us again at Probably Unlimited Games, back with week 6 of Hunting in the Queen's Forest. Last week was pretty rough. This week we actually got some things working. Not a whole lot, but we got the advanced site plugin working, and we're actively wrangling the animation system. Steve and not Steve are still T-posing, still judging us, and still somehow more productive than we are. Remember last week when we couldn't get the advanced site plugin working because of some mysterious Unreal bug? Well, the developer fixed it, which means we're not crazy, and we got it integrated properly. Wasn't too hard once the thing was actually working for us. The AI now takes 5 seconds to identify you as a threat, and the deer actually stop moving and go into an alert state when they first spot you. It's much more natural. Like real deer, they freeze, stare at you for a moment, and then decide whether or not you're worth panicking about. No more zipping off into the sunset the moment they see a pixel of your character, like certain politicians when you ask them about certain files. I also added a bed to town that we're using to reset the day. You interact with it to reset the time to 6 a.m. It's a simple feature, but it now means that we have an actual loop instead of just this vague eternal present where one day bleeds into the next, and everything feels like you're stuck in a pillow fort that's slowly suffocating you. And then there's the animation system. Oh, the animation system. We're still trying to overhaul our archery animations, and we hate every minute of it. The asset we're using has been incredibly complex, and it was designed for multiplayer compatibility, which means that every simple thing we want to do requires understanding 17 different systems that all talk to each other in ways that we really don't understand. We still can't figure out how to add a basic crouching animation. Crouching! Literally just make the character shorter while aiming, but somehow this requires diving into blend spaces and state machines and animation blueprints that look like they were designed by someone who is thinking of packet transfer, server overload, and response times instead of a simple single-player game. So, naturally, we decided to try and tease it apart so we can figure out which pieces we need to interact with in order to actually get the character model to behave the way that we want it to. But it's a whole mess. It's like trying to learn painting from a finished portrait when you're still trying to get the basic shapes down. We hate it. We hate it so much. Every time we think we've made progress, we discover 3 new ways that the system can break. On a more positive note, Matthew and I spent some time this week going over our visual assets and starting to hammer out the visual language for the game. We've been working with geometric shapes and generic models, no offense Steve and not Steve, for so long that it was actually refreshing to think about what this thing should actually look like. We're aiming for something that feels authentically medieval without being too dark or gritty, more lived-in village than grimdark fantasy. Think warm hearth fires and hand-carved wooden tools rather than the stereotypical mud and misery that Hollywood likes to portray. We're trying to make everything feel real, authentic, and reasonably historically accurate, not misery porn about how medieval times were miserable and oppressive. It's nice to step back from technical problems and remember that we're building a world, not just a collection of systems. Plus, it gives me something to do besides just being the ideas guy. Like I said last week, I haven't been able to do a whole lot of help with the actual hard work that Matthew's been doing, so even doing what amounts to playing with digital Lego blocks feels like a step up. Here's the thing that's been driving Matthew crazy. We actually accomplished stuff this week. The ASP integration works great, the bed interaction is solid. These are real improvements to the game, even if they do feel kinda small. It just doesn't feel like enough. And pile on top of that how much time he spent wrestling with animations and feeling confused, it doesn't feel like progress. He feels like we're spinning our wheels, even when he's doing a bunch of stuff that I frankly couldn't even dream about putting together, i.e., had to take beginner's programming in college twice, just so I could get out of it with a C-. So, honestly, I'm more grateful that he's taking on all the hard work while I do things like voiceovers and writing. But I guess this is one of those weeks where you feel like everything you do is just not enough, even when it is important. Understanding these systems, even badly, is necessary for the long-term health of the project. But it doesn't give you that satisfying, I built a thing and it works feeling. Still, Still, I think he's doing a really great job. He's the one who's put in countless hours actually building things, while I constantly promise that this week I'll actually try and open Blender for once. Turns out we both feel we're not doing enough for the project, which is kind of a strange place to be. Game development has this cruel irony where some of the most important work feels the least rewarding. Getting the deer to behave realistically? Actually pretty important in a medieval hunting game. Understanding animation systems? Critical for any kind of player movement improvements, not just in medieval hunting games. But it just doesn't feel too good in the moment. It feels like you're stuck in quicksand made of code and technical documentation. The ASP upgrade is working great though. Steve and not Steve seem to approve. They're T-posing with slightly more confidence now that the Deer AI is more sophisticated. Next week we're gonna try and narrow our focus a bit. Matt is gonna keep working on animation, just animation and nothing but animations, while I will be working with digital Lego blocks, like a big boy. Maybe Steve and not Steve will finally get some houses, instead of just abstract geometric shapes. I'm sure it'll be fine though. They haven't complained yet. As always, like and subscribe. We really do appreciate the support.